everyone and welcome back to Mariana Mas Books. My name is Mariana and today I am here to talk about my TBR for the We Love Jenny readathon. This is a readathon that is created and co-hosted by Christy at Dostoevsky in Space and Tiffany at Beautiful Minutiae. And it is a readathon in honor of the memory of Jennifer Brooks. If you have watched my channel before, especially recently, then you know that Jennifer Brooks was one of my absolute favorite booktubers, internet people, influences, and she has unexpectedly and sadly passed away this January. Christy was one of her best friends here on BookTube, and she is organizing this readathon in honor of her memory. The idea is to read some of Jenny's favorite books that she has influenced us to get, to want to read, books that she has recommended in her channel, books that she has talked about, and I think just in general things that she loved, not just books. She was a big fan of K-pop, and Christy has helpfully created a playlist that we can listen to with some of Jenny's favorite K-pop songs and that type of thing. I'm definitely going to be talking about some media other than books in this video. I just think this is a really beautiful thing. I love that this is going on. I am so happy to participate, and I hope that Jenny is very happy watching us read her favorite books. I was thinking how to go about this readathon because there are so many things that I have on my want to read list, want to watch list, want to listen to list. So many things based on Jenny's recommendations, based on what she talked about in her videos. That I was wondering how to go about this because there is no way that I could cover everything in February. So the way I decided to go about this is that in this video I'm going to share with you some of the biggest areas where Jenny played an influence in my life, and I am going to pick some books and or media for each of those areas of my life. Then I'm going to tell you specifically in February what I want to get to, and all of the other stuff I have on a checklist that I am going to be just checking randomly through the year to see what I can pick up depending on the season, etc. But yeah, to go ahead with my list. So thinking about it, I think that the biggest ways in which Jenny influenced my life were classics, history, and poetry. Not necessarily in that order, but those three: classics, history, and poetry. But there are also other things like fantasy, and she also talked about shows and movies and that type of thing. If you watched my previous video that I told you about, I talked about how I watched the whole Vikings show with my mom, and I keep talking about it, and maybe it sounds like, yeah, whatever, you watched Vikings, like, but you have no idea the way that it took over my life, the way that it is now my absolute favorite show, the way that I love Ragnar to my core. And she talked a lot about that too, and we talked about that on Twitter. So like, watching Vikings was a big deal for me, okay? In terms of Jenny influences, I was obsessed. I'm still obsessed. So yeah, so media, shows, those things. And then there is a theme that she loved that I also love. That is vampires, and she talked about vampires a lot, and she talked about I don't remember which video she was doing where she talked about loving a trope that she named Death and the Maiden, and she explained that trope in that video, but just from the name of that trope that she named, and I think there's actually a book called like that. But just based on the trope that she named. I was like, say less. Yes, yes, I love that. That's one of my favorite things too. If you give me a romance book or a classic book or a gothic or whatever, I will put it on my list. I will put it on my list. So when she talked about that, I think I might have even commented in her video like, yes, yes. So, you know, vampires, death and the maiden, that type of thing, yes, 100%. I am so with you, Jenny. Love it. So that's another topic that I want to consider, you know, vampires, that trope, that type of thing. So I'll just give you my list of books. I've been rambling on for over 10 minutes and I haven't given you any books or movies or anything, which, come to think about it, is not weird for my channel. So thank you for being here, whoever watches my videos, my rambly videos. But yeah, just going ahead with my list. The first thing that I talked about when I was doing my list, and again, this is in no particular order, like these are just areas in my life where she had an influence. And the first is history, and for history I have two picks. Again, I'm not going to read all of this in February. I will tell you at the end what I plan to read in February. And my first history pick is The Lives of the Artists by Giorgio Vassari. Yes, Giorgio Vassari. I have had this for so long. This is a book that I have had since probably university. I'm 34 years old and this has been on my shelves since university, and I have been dying to read it since university. But you know how it goes. There are books that you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I do want to read that, and then however many years pass and you still haven't read it. And so I have always been interested in this book. I have always wanted to read this book. And then I heard Jenny talk about it, and I heard Jenny how much she loves it. And I was like, okay. Jenny approved. I had already been super interested in that book and Jenny loves it. Well, now I'm doubly interested in that book. So this is one. And then the other one is a funny one that is inspired by Christy, her latest video that she did where she talked about her friendship with Jenny. And this is one that I do want to attempt to at least start in February. And I say this because I want to finish another book that I'm currently reading before I start this one. So I'm going to hurry up to try to start this one in February. Why did I pick this? Because this is not a book that comes from Jenny's list or Jenny's recommendations. This, okay, so in her video, Christy talked about how Jenny really loved historical figures that everyone hates, and she was so passionate about them. And one of the things that I loved about Jenny was how she had historical crushes and how she loved historical figures. And one of the ways that I wanted to be like her was that I am on a quest to find a historical crush. And this book, I just want to preface by saying it's not a historical crush, but it is an obsession, and it is a historical figure that I'm super interested in. But specifically, this is a historical figure that is super hated. He is #1 public enemy in Mexico, okay? Which is why I hope that it's not a crush and it's only an obsession. I'm just going to say I'm obsessed. Yeah, okay, I'm obsessed. And I think, and again, this is inspired by the Christy video where she said, oh, Jenny hated historical figures. And so this is not a Jenny recommendation, and it is not one of the historical figures that Jenny loves, but in the spirit of looking for historical obsessions, I am going to try to read in February this short biography of Hernán Cortés. If you want to know why he is hated, you can watch my historathon video that I did recently. And if I do read this one, I will talk about it. And Jenny, this is for you because I shouldn't be obsessing with this guy. Okay? So moving on. Then we have classics. And for classics, the first one that I picked is Moby Dick. All of us who watched Jenny's channel, we know. She did a travel vlog. I don't remember where she went. She did a lot of travel vlogs, but it was a trip within the US, and she was near the beach, and she bought Moby Dick, and she abandoned her TBR to read Moby Dick, and she loved it. She loved it, and the way she talked about Moby Dick made me immediately buy it, and I haven't read it yet. So I need to get on this. And then also for classics, and this I don't have physically, she loved poetry, as we know, and poetry is the other thing in my list that she was one of the biggest influences. So history, classics, poetry, and classics and poetry together, because she didn't read a lot of contemporary poetry. I don't think I ever... Oh, sorry, I hit the phone. I don't think I ever heard her talk about contemporary poetry. She loved classic poetry, ancient poetry. I'm going to generally say old-timey poetry. That is my official historical term. I'm sorry, Jenny. Old-timey poetry. I'm going to say it like that because she read over so many time periods, and I think that is what I want to read in February. I want to read some poetry because she loved jumping in and out of poetry. When she did Ancients-a-thon, her the readathon that she created, she always picked up poetry, but she never or she usually didn't just like pick a full book of poetry and read it from beginning to end. She usually jumped in and out of different poetry books, read separate poems. So I want to try to do that in February, and I have some in mind. So Lord Byron, obviously, like duh. Lord Byron, I think Keats, also Percy, Shelley, of course. I don't know how I forgot Shelley. And some Victorian or Regency poetry. And then finally, because I've been talking for 25 minutes, I have the two last. So media. Two things. One that I haven't watched and one that I have watched a million times. The first one that I have watched a million times is Titanic. Titanic was Jenny's favorite film, and she would talk about Titanic. I would laugh to hear her talk about Titanic because I don't know, she had a way of talking about her obsessions that was very funny and very relatable. I feel like I really related to her in the way she talks about the things she's obsessed with, and she was obsessed with Titanic. And there is a specific scene that she talked about in a video, which is where a scene where the water is like going all over the ship and like it breaks the ceiling. If you watch Titanic, you know, I mean, everyone has watched that movie. So it breaks the ceiling, and it has the score, the beautiful music, the beautiful score, and it's like chills, like you get chills every single time when you watch that scene. I love that movie. My sister loves that movie. It's one of our favorite movies. We watch it all the time together. There was a replay in the movies. They screened Titanic in last February, and my sister and me, it's our movie, and so we had plans to go watch it in the movies, and then she went ahead and watched it with her boyfriend. She went with her boyfriend, and I was so sad because I was like, that's our movie. We were going to watch Titanic. Anyway, it would be good to watch Titanic in February. It's a good February movie, and Jenny, it was her favorite movie. and I think it would be cool to watch it. I feel like the spirit of this readathon event is to try something new that Jenny loved, and so in that spirit, there is a K-drama. I've never watched a K-drama before. I do have some recommendations from friends, but I just have never watched one. But Jenny talked about one that was called The Tale of, or something with two tails. It's called The Tale of the Nine-Tailed. It is an urban fantasy. Urban fantasy is one of my absolute favorite things. This is also something funny. I'm sorry, I'm just like flooding you with funny anecdotes. But when she was talking in a video once where she was reading like a modern vampire book or something like that, and she was saying how she didn't like it because she hates the monsters with cell phone trope. Because she liked the classical vampire. Classical vampire, dressed in old time clothes, like a classical vampire. And she didn't like monsters in contemporary life using cell phones. And I love this monster with cell phone trope. I love it. In romance, I read all the time. When I first learned that Jenny loves vampires and that type of thing, I was going to recommend so many urban fantasy books that I love. And then I learned that she hates the monster with cell phone trope. And I was like, okay, never mind. And this one is not about vampires, but I think it is mythological based, and it is an urban fantasy. And I think that she could put up with the monster with cell phone trope when it came to TV shows, because she talked about how this one had Vampire Diaries vibes, like that type of thing. And so since she first recommended that, I added it to my list, and I've been wanting to look for it. I haven't seen if we have it available here in Netflix in our catalog, because catalogs vary from country to country. So I want to see if it's available, and if it is, I would like to watch some episodes of that. And just the final thing is the vampire thing. And for the vampire theme, I have two things. So the first one, that again I have been wanting to read since forever, but then I heard it was Jenny's favorite book, and it went straight to the top of my list, and that is Interview with a Vampire. I have been wanting to read it since high school, literally since high school. I've never even watched the movie, and I haven't watched the movie because I want to read the book first, and I haven't read the book, so I have to read it. And again, you've seen this list. I'm not going to cover this in February, so I'm thinking fall, because I want the vibes. I had even talked about body reading it with another booktuber that I really loved, that I won't name as to not put pressure on that. That is one. And then the other is a book that I had already shown in my channel, and it is this vampire stories book that I showed when I did my Gothlit November TBR last year. Again, October vibes. At least one of the stories in this book. It's really cool. It's illustrated. If you watch the Gothlit video, I showed some illustrations. I'm not going to do so at the moment because it's hard to show illustrations on camera. I drop things, and this is the last that I was going to talk, so I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much to Christy and Tiffany for giving us this opportunity. I think a lot of us were already planning on reading like Jenny this year, but it's really great to have this space where we are all coming together to celebrate Jenny and the book she liked. I hope Jenny is, I know she is, watching and super happy. I yeah, I'm just excited. We are all reading her favorite stuff. It's just, as a book nerd, there is nothing like someone reading your favorite book. It's the best feeling when you get someone to read your favorite book. And again, hopefully they love it. And if not, they won't tell you. So, this is just evolving into chaos. So I'm going to stop talking. And thank you to Christy and to Tiffany, and hugs to everyone. I'm going to look for everyone's TBRs. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you soonish with another. I will see you soon with another bookish video or tarot video. And in the meantime, I wish you happy reading.